The first distant hum of an approaching ZV lifted my spirits briefly. Instead of hearing the expected split into 3 or 4 vehicles running in stealth mode, there was only one. Maybe it was a medic team for our injured, or a mortar crew to take out that relentless sniper on the ridge across the river. I shifted behind my boulder, which was the size of a hot tub, and looked back down the road. What I saw made me blink. It wasn't a medic or mortar crew. It was a long base staff ZV, complete with fluttering pennons. An agent, dressed in black, sat in the front seat next to the helmeted driver in battle dress uniform. In the middle, a staff were sat in full parade uniform, complete with a peaked hat, looking completely out of place. At the back, a gunner stood, helmeted and goggled, gripping the twin handles of the pintle-mounted repeater on the roll bar with a grim determination. My heart sank. An agent? Those black tabs judged everyone guilty by action, omission, association, or mere proximity. Their mantra seemed, summary executions will continue until morale improves. Sure, our small force had been mauled, stalled halfway to the small market town we were supposed to secure hours ago, but what good was one unstealth staff ZV with a black tab and an idiot for? Except, perhaps, to blame and execute someone? As our ranking line, that would be me. The ZV slowed down, sliding past the bodies we had managed to recover and place on the right side of the road. It crept by my 3 injured but still armed squad eyes who were taking cover in the left storm gully behind our second carrier, which had been burned down to the axles. It then coasted past my 2 other armed squad eyes, who were also in the same gully but sheltered behind our first burned-to-axles carrier. Finally, it came to a stop beside our last engineer, who was cautiously aiming his compact L-14 SPDW from the dubious cover of their burned-out crawler. The staff were stood up and scanned the area. He had clearly noticed the squad eyes. His gaze swept over the bridge with its raised abutments, the poured stone box section deck, and the charred remains of our Line 4 short-base ZV sitting mid-span. His eyes then settled on me and my 3 armed squad eyes, who were hiding behind the boulders on this side of the road. I waved a hand to draw his eyes, called, "Active sniper, staff." He glanced my way then, ignoring my warning, keyed his amplifier, called, "Who's in charge?" That would be me. I waved again. He stepped down from his long ZV as if for a parade. Accompanied by his black tab, he strode towards me. Again I called, "Active sniper, staff." Again he ignored me. Stopping a few paces away, he snarled, "On your feet, line." If I did not stand, the black tab would kill me. If I stood, would the sniper? I made my standard L-14 safe, collapsed the stock, struggled to my feet, and let the weapon hang from its sling. My grimy, blood-spattered BDUs and depleted reload pouches bore witness to this morning's debacle. I took care to stay mostly behind my boulder as I gave a crisp salute. Staff. Rank. Line 2, Ural, 2nd Squad, staff. Where's your line 4? Dead in ZV on bridge, staff. Sniper. Your line 3. Body row, staff. Sniper. Your line 2 for squad. Body row, staff. Sniper. The combat English 3? Sniper, staff. I waved towards the boulder-choked riverbed, tried to clear forward by shattering boulders. His English 2? Sniper, staff. Shot hit their satchel charge. Blast also caught 2 in 1's dash. But the bridge is intact. Reduced weight limit, staff. I waved towards a hand-painted sign set against the official notice. It's a trick, a clumsy trick by their peasantry. You should have driven across. Staff, our 4 led first squad across with a ZV. Why not the encrawler? Staff, English 3 told our line for the bridge would require less resource to reinforce than rebuild. Nonsense. He glanced to his black tab. Dispose. As his big handgun slowly rose, I glimpsed a now familiar flicker. Crack. The black tab spun sideways, hydraulic shock spraying blue blood from his snout and his body armor's joints. The ZV's alert gunner fired across the river, though suppressive rather than aimed. The startled staff looked about. I went flat behind my boulder, counting 2, 3. Crack! A jet of blue blood erupted from the four's upper back, throwing him down. He landed beside his black tab in a messy heap. Jump! I yelled towards the ZV. The driver dived clear. The gunner leapt rolled. Crack! Whoosh! Bam! I flinched and tried to burrow deeper behind my boulder as the ZV split power pack exploded, setting off the repeater's partial drum. Like our lighter L-14 ammunition, those caseless rounds had a subsonic kick charge that took the barrel's twist for spin and used base burn for range. Unaimed, the rounds flew wildly in all directions. Fortunately, the gunner had managed to fire a long enough burst to empty the flimsy drum, and his remaining ammo just burned with a noisy crackle. I wiped the grit from my snout and shook my head to clear it. Then I noticed the ZV's gunner skillfully low-crawling across the road, his L-14S held with practiced ease. Partially obscured by the flames and drifting smoke from the ZV, his once clean camo BDUs were now filthy as he wriggled into the ditch on the side, making his way toward me. Pausing by the bodies of the dead Staff 4 and the black tab, he unbuckled their holsters, taking their handguns and spare reloads. He also grabbed the 4's comm set from its clip before continuing to crawl towards my position. When he reached the shelter of my boulder, he pushed up his goggles and reported, Staff 2 Rons. Staff. I responded warily. Even as a very young 2, he'd outrank our now-dead Line 4. My trep, active sniper, staff, medium weapon. A light repeater covers bridge deck and riverbed. 5 Line 1s and my Line 2 combat effective. 3 Line 1s injured but defense capable. 1 English 1 armed with PDW. No comms. Add my driver 1 and detached staff 2 with PDWs. These 2 handguns, 1 comm set. He shook his head. What is that weapon? No muzzle flash, no discharge, just crack. Unknown staff. It does not fit any weapon in our line briefings. I shuddered. Unless a trick, there's a count of 3 or 4 between shots. But they can breach a squad carrier's Orin crawler's cupola. Yes, staff. I shivered, confirmed his unhappy observation. 1 shot, 1 kill. Ancestors, he muttered. I have codes for this comm unit, but before I report, I need to understand what happened. Start with what you know of the strategic position. Staff. I took a shaky breath, then a second, quoted from our limited line briefing. Staff this planet, local identifier call 2, Imperial asset code pending, orbits mid-orange star call prime. Intel map 2 polar continents and many reef-ringed island chains in a shallow world ocean. Axial tilt high, almost half a corner. Orbit unusually eccentric, with significant seasonal variation. Day cycle length almost 3 times centrals, so surface synchronous orbit is unusually high. We are on smaller northern continent's southern coast. Here, lowland narrows between steep scarp of wide karst plateau and embayed coastal swamp. This angry river, local drain for plateau, is subject to flash floods, hence name. Road is single hardtop route between continent's capital and space field at Southport and small, but regionally important market town of New Hampton to east. We control its pass up the scarp, outlying villages, farmsteads, the small port eastern and southeastern coast. Intel report 4 or 5 types of exos, mostly in scattered farmsteads. Small regional militias limit piracy and prevent escalation of clan squabbles. Intel reported no heavy weapons. A guard ship challenged First Fleet near Call 3, a gas giant, but fled when attacked by light escorts. Our combat landing at Southport's small space field was unopposed. Town was deserted. All fled day cycles ago as First Fleet approached. Squads 1 through 6 secured the space field, town, harbor, local roads without loss. Tracks confirmed intel that many non-combatants dispersed into thick scrubland to the west. The rest came east, as local summer. Nights here are short and days long. We got some rest, deployed at dawn. Line 4 short ZV led, with his driver and roll bar repeaters gunner. 1 combat uncrawler. 2 8-wheeled squad carriers followed, each with cupola repeater and gunner. Team scanned and checked the road's storm ditches, verges, drains, and gullies. Found nothing. Before coastal plain narrowed, we passed several farmsteads, all deserted. Came to this bridge. Our intel and official signs showed rated for our heavy vehicles, but new sign said not. ZV wrecked hides a black zigzag across right lane near midspan. Fresh hazard paint around it. Arrows painted on the deck to steer traffic to the left lane. Perhaps overloaded during evacuation? The young staff, too, shook his head. Or just too convenient. Staff. Our Line 4 thought it a clumsy trick, but English 3 refused to risk our vehicles. Logical. A weak bridge deck would require far less resource to reinforce than rebuild. Staff. I replied, shook off my surprise, continued. Dry season, so river level is low between storms. Their flash floods bank-fill this oversized channel, wash down ZV-sized boulders. There are ramps for a ford, but bed is choked. Our Line 4 agreed to seize bridge on foot, secure the far bank's ridge which commands crossing. Then team would use succession of small charges, shatter enough boulders for crawler to clear ford, bring our vehicles across. Line 4 led the way in ZV. First squad and their Line 2 stayed close to the low bridge parapets for the minimal cover. Line 3 had our second squad and 3 cupola repeaters in support. ZV was halfway across, just passing those markings when, crack! As the ZV began to burn, a light repeater raked first squad. The cupola gunners had no target, but laid suppressive fire across ridge. Did not help. Crack! Crawler's cupola repeater gang fired down to its box. Neither gunner nor driver got out. Crack! First squad's carrier's cupola repeater gang fired. Neither gunner nor driver got out. Crack! My second squad's carrier's cupola repeater gang fired, but rear door was open, so explosion vented. Driver got out. Line 3 tried to coordinate counterfire, move and cover, but crack! That was our comms loss, too. Though first squad's Line 2 was wounded, he pulled 2 injured off the bridge. Took his squad's combat capables. Half my squad, too, and with the Yangs. Tried to force a crossing through the boulder choke beneath the bridge deck. We gave a lot of suppressive fire, but had no targets. They were flanked by both sniper and light repeater. Ancestors. He closed his eyes for several breaths, asked, You been pinned down since? Yes, staff. I hesitated, added. The sniper did not shoot at retreating, injured, or body recovery efforts, but returns fire with lethal effect. Have you narrowed location of the sniper? No, staff. No flesh, no blesti, no glints. Ample cover atop that ridge. Height provides plunging fire. Surmise sniper and light repeater move about. Logical. Now we need a recon overflight, a mortar carrier or a combat flyer, plus transport. He shook his head. I should not have these codes. I'm just a 2. If asked, my 4 lived long enough to delegate. Yes, staff. The young officer plugged in an earpiece, fetched a short document from a pouch, carefully keyed the comm unit. He replied to the validation challenge, reported Staff 2 Rons. Mitrep, advance halted at Angry River Bridge. Active sniper, with medium weapon plus light repeater in support. Baiklas Dastruya. Senior ranks dead. Multiple lines and Ang's dead. 9 combat effective. 3 injured but defense capable. Request support. Confirm. All ranks above 2 dead. All vehicles destroyed. Request support. Yes, I'll hold. Hello? Yes. Staff 2 Rons. Mitrep. Advance halted at Angry River Bridge. Active sniper, with medium weapon plus light repeater in support. Vehicles destroyed. Senior ranks dead. Multiple lines and Ang's dead. 9 combat effective. 3 injured but defense capable. Request support. Yes, I'll hold. Hello? Yes. Staff 2 Rons. Mitrep. Advance halted at Angry River Bridge. Active sniper, with medium weapon plus light repeater in support. Baiklas Destruya. Senior ranks dead. Multiple lines and Aang's dead. 9 combat effective. 3 injured but defense capable. Request support. Yes, I'll hold. As this hold stretched, he whispered. Thank the ancestors I charged this for him. Hello? Yes. Staff 2 Rons. Mitrep. Advance halted at Angry River Bridge. Active sniper, with medium weapon plus light repeater in support. Vehicles destroyed. Senior ranks dead. Multiple lines and Aang's dead. 9 combat effective. 3 injured but defense capable. Request support. Hold this position. Await orders. Understood. He took a breath, asked, Mitrep? Whatever was in the lengthy reply. The young staff's eyes went wider and wider, his snout darker and darker, until he took a shaky breath, repeated back, Hold this position. Await orders. Understood. I'd been aligned too long enough to figure this meant our routine liberation had gone seriously off-plan. I waited while the young staff took a wary sip from his water bottle before he tried to speak. Still took him 3 tries. No air support, he began. The Southport Landing's 2 light combat flyers scouted west met shoulder-launched. Drones just lose their command link. Fall from the sky. Ancestors. This bridge. He waved at the rack. This is bad, but the southern landing at Northport? Worse. Ancestors. How? Northport Council had declared they were open. No combat within city limits. Still, an assault lander offloaded in their central park. Line squad seized all major buildings, secured road junctions. No opposition. All had fled by land or sea. They'd left all utilities shut off, strong, password protected. But that's Civil's problem. 3 armor and 2 more line landers offloaded at the spaceport. It's a dredged island in the estuary. Long causeway, with poured stone, box-deck bridge spans across wide channels at start and end. Like yours, but much bigger. Column forms up, rolls onto the causeway. Combat Aangs have checked, no mines or demo charges. Then, when the entire column is on the causeway, boom, bridge ahead goes down. Boom! Bridge behind goes down. Those explosives were sealed inside the box decks, must have been there for many day cycles. And the council had not lied. The causeway and bridges were outside the city. The big Welcome to Northport sign set 8/8 of paces inland of the nearest abutment. Column is stuck. Channels are too deep. Too soft for heavies or crawlers to wade. Currents too fast for carriers to swim. Water too rough for laden Zeevies. Intel got that much right. So, plan on this movie. There's 3 commercial, heavy shuttles docked to First Fleet in orbit, each with an 8 of heavy combat flyers aboard. 2 8s for Northport to patrol, meet any militia counterattack by boat or land. 1 8 for Southport to patrol your scarp, road, and swamp. All due tomorrow, but called early. Northport shuttles would offload, then hover to the causeway, land on road. Ferry 1 or 2 heavy vehicles ashore at a time. While those are inbound, combat Aangs get lines across the channels for cable ferries. They swim a few tethered carriers then. For line squads and resupply, a tethered pontoon they've crafted from a storeyard's empty drums. Northport's 2 heavy shuttles land, open tail ramps. Their flyers are charged, armed, crewed, ready to hover out, fly off as soon as their lashings are released. Edge of the field, for pipe stand, hinge over. Shoof, shoof. 1 missile flies up each ramp, explodes. Then another. Ancestors. I whispered. Now the Northport Expeditionary Force is down by those 2 8s of heavy combat flyers, their crews, their relief crews, their maintenance Aangs and spares, their ordnance Aangs and reloads. Also, those 2 heavy shuttles. And yes, their heavies and crawlers are still stuck on the causeway. Word comes to Southport. They positioned squad carriers ready to unsight and protect their shuttle's ramp. 3 pop-ups nail the shuttle as it comes over the perimeter fence. Crash and burn. Ancestors. Ancestors.